Chris Cool Mods, back at it again. This time with the little 1 terabyte micro SD card build. And you can put this thing in all kinds of things. You should be able to put it in many portable devices, a laptop, a desktop. I'm going to be putting in a desktop. You'll see there it has everything from Nintendo Switch to really old school Atari and everything in between. PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2, Dreamcast, arcade games, Sega Model 2, Sega Model 3, Mario Kart, all the Marios, all the Donkey Kongs, all the Metals, Gear Solid, everything. We even got some light gun games on here that we'll be playing later. It's got the whole gamut. So this is kind of a condensed down all the best games, because with 1 terabyte of space, you gotta really condense it down. So in this video, we'll go ahead and check out what exactly is on this build. We'll do some gameplay, and then I'll also share with you what I like, what I don't like about it. It's another option out there for everybody. So without further ado, let's get into it. All right, so getting started with Mame. As you see there's over 3,000 games. You can see the game numbers. I think it's either in the upper right or upper right or lower right corner. You should be able to see the game numbers there. And what we're going through now is there's just all kinds of collections, because with over 3,000 games, you got to be able to sort it better. So you can just click on these collections here to get directly to what you're looking for. But here we have Naomi. These are going to be those Sega Dreamcast arcade games. You also have CPS 1, 2, and 3 there, Capcom Play System. You're also going to have your light gun game collections here. You're going to have your Atomiswave that we're going to check out in just a second. You're going to have your Sega Model 2, Sega Model 3. So these are all the different arcade games by different publishers as well as different platforms, and it has a nice collection here. So a lot of people are going to like it just for that reason alone. So it has a nice little arcade set on it. And a good, I mean, considering this is only 1 terabyte, there's still a lot of games on here. I don't know if I added up all the games, but it's still over 8,000 games easily, and a lot of really good games because you have to pick wisely. So now we're getting into Sega Model 2 and Sega Model 3. Some good racing games there, light gun games, driving games. You've seen these before in your local arcade. Fun games, and with Emulation, you can insert as many tokens as you like and actually beat the game without burning down the wallet. All right, so that does it for Mame. And so that's the arcade section. So now we're going to the console section. And so these are going to be all your consoles. Now there's also a handheld section, and there's also a settings section to change your shaders and your themes and things like that. So we're in consoles right now. We went through Atari, Coleco. We also are doing Dreamcast here. And I'm going pretty fast because I think more people, when it comes to Atari, SNES, NES, all those games are there. He has every single game. It's not until you get to something like Gamecube or Dreamcast where you can only have so many games. So you can see there in the bottom right corner, there's not very many games because it's such a condensed down system. So Genesis, I basically skipped over because it has every single Sega Genesis game. Neo Geo, basically going to skip over this because it has all the Neo Geo games. Neo Geo X, there's a little fewer, but majority are there. For Neo Geo. So when it comes to these CD-based games, you have to kind of make decisions whether you want to include them on your build or not. So Nintendo 64 DD, this is a little thing that went underneath. You can see the photo there. It goes underneath the N64. Now N64 itself, every single Nintendo 64 game, 299, pretty much all of them. Nintendo, it's going to have pretty much all the Nintendo games. So you're going to notice a theme here that it has a lot of these 16-bit systems, 32-bit systems. It's going to have all that stuff for you. But here you go, PlayStation. First system where you really got to kind of condense down. You can't have every PlayStation game. And so I think this is where people are going to not have games that they want. You can absolutely add games to this build or transfer it to a larger storage device or delete some games and add your own. It's not necessarily recommended, because he's going to have you, he updates this all the time. So you can get updates as he releases new games or makes fixes or fixes art, things like that. So I wouldn't really be adding and removing games per se. I guess it's just possible if you wanted to. But know that it does come with support. So as we move forward, Sega Saturn, another system where you're going to have to select what games you want to include on the build. But a nice little Sega Saturn collection. We're going to play Croc later. You can see that it runs really well. And it's basically what kind of computer you're on, if this is going to run well or not. If you have anything, a new computer built within the last 4 or 5 years, you should be plenty good. You will need a dedicated graphics card for like PlayStation 2, Nintendo Switch, things like that. But like Dreamcast, things like that, you don't even need a graphics card. You know, that'll run just fine on a lower end computer. So we're going through the games here: TurboGrafx 16, Vectrex, Virtual Boy, pretty much all of them. Now Wii and Wii U, you're gonna notice not a lot of games. Wii was such an interesting system, and the controller was so interesting. So emulation does work on it, but like there's certain things that are hard to mimic, like the shaking of the controller, things like that. So Xbox, you do have Halo, Half-Life 2, and then the Atari Flashback was more of a collection. So that's all we have for consoles. Don't forget there's handhelds, and that's where your PSP is going to be. That's where your Nintendo Switch is going to be. That's where all the Game Boys are going to be. And this even has Nintendo 3DS on it. So it's got quite a nice little collection of systems. If you like broad systems and you just like to play some of the games for the more popular games, I think this is going to be right up your alley. So Atari Lynx. And then as far as the front end here, there's many different themes you could choose from. I'll show you a few later in the video. You could absolutely change the theme on how you scroll through all these games. Game Boy Advance, Game Boy Color, pretty much all of them. All the Game Boy Advance games, all the Game Boy Color games, all the regular Game Boy games, all the Game Gear games. So when it comes to those systems, you're going to have every single game ever made for that particular market. Neo Geo Pocket, Color. So Nintendo 3DS, I think this is where, there's only a few games here, but some really good games. And so you get a nice a small selection. And you'll notice when I play the games later, they're set up to play in full screen mode. You can absolutely change the resolution and how they play and everything else. You got Nintendo DS, quite a bit of DS games, pretty much, I want to say majority of them. PSP, you definitely don't have enough space for all the PSP games, but there's quite a few good ones on here. God of War. And then lastly, Nintendo Switch. And yes, it does have the new Zelda on here. And then with the Switch, it runs great if you have a decent computer. It runs decent if you have a good computer. It's totally playable. So now we're going to move into the settings. Wonder Swan and Wonder Swan Color are the last things. Then we're going to get into settings here. And when you go to settings, you get a little separate screen here. You have the themes. And so this is going to show you all the different themes that you can choose from. Right now, it's just showing off the graphics. You can change the background music. You can add a second screen. You can, if you have like a marquee you want to add, old TV overlay. You can clear all your favorites, dim the screen when you're not using it, and then as well as intro videos, like when you first load the system. As far as the themes, you can see on the bottom there says, for example, Retro Beast. Retro Beast was the first theme for Retro Beast. Next to one of the most popular themes. So it gives you a little description of what it is. You really got to kind of click them and check them all out. I like the next two myself. It was one of the ones I enjoyed more, but we'll see one of the other ones. I think we're about to see the Beast Flow, which is more like if you ever had an iPod, it's called like an album flow or cover flow. And it just shows you the covers of what you're, about to play. So if you like that kind of look, you can go through the covers and things. So there's a few different themes that come with it that you can mess around with. All right, so let's go ahead and play some games. Here we go. We got Croc for the Sega Saturn. Next up, we have PlayStation 2, Street Fighter EX3. So as you see here, it's playing fine, no lag whatsoever, no hiccups, full screen. Controls are working fine. I'm using the Xbox 360 controller, no problem whatsoever. And fun little game. There's even like a little quest mode on this game. So next up, we have Nintendo 3DS. We got Super Mario 3D Lands, and it runs pretty good. A little bit of stuttering, not because of my computer or anything. I think it's just emulation. totally playable. And as you see here, runs well, fun little game. You can see a few little Nintendo 3DS games. You see the second screen in the lower right-hand corner there, as far as since it's a two-screen system. All right, now we're gonna get out the light gun. By the time this video comes out, I should have posted the video on this particular light gun I'm using here, the neck stick. And so knowing that Chris Cool Mods has good light gun collections in there, yes, you can play arcade games with light gun, Second Model 2, Second Model 3 games, quite a few little light gun games you play, even Duck Hunt if you wanted to, all that fun stuff. So final remarks, I've been reviewing these for a little while now, whether you're getting these on Amazon or from somewhere else. There's lots of pre-built images out there. It's cheap and free. It's free if you want to just build these by yourself and learn how to do it, and it's a great way to use your time. If that's you and you feel capable of doing it, I highly recommend you just go and do that. As far as this as a capable build, I haven't seen the pricing on this yet, but I know a lot of people didn't like the pricing on some of the bigger items that Chris Cool Mods sold, so maybe this might be a cheaper option for everybody. I'm not sure where everyone's budget is, but it should be cheaper than the other options, and so I think there's a market for it. And so now that you know what's on it, and it works, and it runs, and it does deliver what it says it's going to do, and it does come with the extra support, you can make your own decision or not whether this is something that you're interested in. As far as the downsides is primarily cost, and that you can build something similar on your own. The upsides is it's quick, convenient, easy. You know, we've seen so many builds, sorted out builds with the 1 terabyte, especially with the Raspberry Pi. There's just so many. This one's definitely a good one. You know, it's not bad in any way, but there's a lot of really good ones out there. So keep that in mind. And so that's what I think. And you all think. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and we'll catch you up in the next one. So first we're playing Area 51, and then this is Zombie Raid, both for Mame.
Oops.